It's Cyber Awareness Month. The City of Johannesburg was recently held to ransom after hackers accessed the city's information system, getting hold of personal information of Johannesburg customers. The group called Shadow Kill Hackers, demanding 4 bitcoins. Now, we keep saying 4 bitcoins, but do you know the value of a bitcoin? And let me inform you, as of this morning's trade, it's 142,000 rand for 1 bitcoin. They are demanding 4 of those. So that's pretty much so putting it in perspective for you. This is not the first time that the city's information systems have been hacked. In recent months, City Power, the City of Johannesburg, the electricity company, was hit by a virus which encrypted the utility's databases. So to discuss this further, we're joined in studio by Maeson Maherry, who is the Chief Solutions Officer at LAWtrust. It's a company specialising in digital security. Good to have you here in studio. Welcome.
Good morning. I think it's so important to stress right away that while the City of Johannesburg is in the news at the moment, it's actually a matter of when, not if, that this is going to happen to all companies. It really is a serious thing that we've got to talk about. We're talking about almost 10,000 attacks per day happening in South Africa. So it's that many. 10,000
attacks on businesses. We're talking cyber attacks a day on businesses.
On businesses.
And this is holding them ransom, kind of what happened here with the City of Johannesburg, holding them ransom, demanding whatever it may be, otherwise they're going to leak the information. Is that the kind of scenario we're dealing with?
It is the kind of scenario. There's different kinds of attacks. Some attacks would just try and knock out a business so that they can't operate. Some of them, and in this case, it is the case, is a ransomware attack where somebody's going to kidnap your data or plant a time bomb in your network, your operation, and say, if you don't pay us by this time, we are either going to disclose the data, and there might be legal consequences for that, or we are going to explode your data, and you might not be able to carry on operating. So definitely serious.
There are rumors doing the rounds, and again, I emphasize it is a rumor. Firstly, let me ask you, do you know if the City of Joburg is back online, if everything is okay now on their websites?
The City of Joburg is not a customer of ours, so I can just see what they are busy tweeting themselves, and it looks like they are about to resume services again today.
Okay.
They started over the weekend with selected services. I actually think they did the right thing by taking everything down, first making sure exactly what has happened, and then bringing it up again slowly. Definitely they had a plan to deal with something like this. So it's not that they're the bad guys in this scenario. Again, this could be happening to any business.
Yeah, as you say, this is happening so frequently. We don't even, this just happens to be in the news, but this is a daily occurrence for thousands of companies. A lot saying that this isn't necessarily a local cyber attack. This could be coming from Europe. I know the City of Joburg don't want to comment on that. They don't want to say anything, but do we find that these are international hackers that come in? Can these hackers come from anywhere?
I think that's the interesting question, is there's no such thing as local anymore. Now that we're connecting everything to everything, the whole world is connected, so everything has become a local attack, so somebody could be sitting in Russia or any place and they could connect via the internet just as easily. It's also interesting to realize these sophisticated tools that are being used are actually accessible by anybody, so if you go onto the dark web, there's a very interesting service which is ransomware as a service. So you basically pay people which are running the sophisticated attack for you. They're building you the tool to specifically attack a certain business. They will deliver the tool, you can run the tool, they hold the keys, the cryptographic keys that will lock the data, and they kind of play this unethical middleman in this whole scenario. So really it's opened up that almost anybody that wants to hurt a business can gain access to the tools and use them illegally.
Well, it's quite frightening. It really is what happens in that underbelly of the web, the dark web as you call it. I mean, it just is, it's frightening what can happen, but it's about protecting yourself from this, and particularly when it comes to cities' websites, because I did a little bit of reading and I see that obviously we are certainly not isolated in here. In one instance, when you look at America, they're saying that in the USA, at least 22 public sector institutions' websites have been hacked within just this year. And some of them, it's cost up to about 220 million rand to rectify the situation. So this is something that's very common around the world.
And many hidden costs. The latest research that's specifically for South Africa has been done by IBM and the Poneman Institute, and they reckon probably around 36 million rand cost per incident. And that is because that when something like this happens, you have to put all your guns blazing to figure out what has happened. You've got to get legal advice. You've got to take down systems. There's lost business. There's reputational loss, so it's a lot of things. So to put a number to it, they're saying for a large enterprise, probably around 36 million plus But the danger is you might not be able to continue doing business. I think there's a lot of scare stories about it, so let's talk a little bit about the good news, is that you can actually defend yourself and your business against these things. You know?
So if you can defend yourself against it, why is it still happening?
I think it's a little bit of a mistrust in security itself. It's still seen slightly as an inconvenience. You know, security is there to stop you doing something. But actually, if you change your mindset, it really is the enabler for all this digitalization that's happening now. You know, security allows you to work from the convenience of your phone. You know, you must embrace security and you must think about it the whole time. That's the most important thing. One of the dangers is to think about security at a point in time. So we're putting up this e-commerce site, we build it, the functionality is great and it is secure today, and then you forget about it. Security is evolving because security researchers are finding flaws in the software. So in a month's time, new flaws might have been discovered and hackers would use those flaws to gain entrance into the system. So one of the things that you must do is an ongoing vulnerability assessment to see that your system is healthy, all the connected systems are healthy, and that you can defend yourself.
Yeah, it is quite interesting because you look at it from a perspective of these particular hackers for the City of Joburg came in and said, if you don't pay this ransom, we will then leak City of Joburg residents' details and make that public. Is there a case in that, though? If our information, I say our because I'm also a resident of the City of Joburg, if my information is leaked, it's an invasion of privacy, who's liable for that? I mean, is there a case for me against the City of Joburg for not protecting my information?
There definitely could be. You know, there's legislation to this regard that's evolving all over the world. And really it's making organizations and individuals behave responsibly when they're entrusted with your personal information. You know, so South Africa has got the Protection of Personal Information Act. It has not been used in a punitive manner yet, but it definitely could be in the future, because basically it's just saying to people, you must understand what information you have, you must understand what you're going to do with it, you must get permission from people in order to process this information, and logically you've got to look after it, you know, and that's the responsible part of it.
I'm reading quite a frightening number, and perhaps I don't know if it's gone higher since then. South African Banking Risk Information Centre, SABC, says that the country loses 2.2 billion rand a year on cyber attacks. This is an alarming amount of money.
Again, if you look at the kind of hackers that are out there, let's call them hackers for now, or attackers that are out there. You know, it used to be people exercising their technical skills and they wanted to see, can I get in, and not necessarily do damage. Where we are today, almost 50% of attacks are criminal in nature. And that is why they're going after the money, you know, because as business has gone digital, so criminals have got digital. Somebody, a specialist, told me once that even large criminal syndicates like the Yakuza have got a computer science division. And they're recruiting the best brains in the business.
Sure.
You know? So that's what we're up against.
New form of bank robberies. No longer masked men with guns. It's masked men behind computers. And that's what's going on. That's the reality. And that's why we introduced the interview, actually, coincidentally. I mean, it just happens to be Cyber Awareness Month this October. I don't think we can emphasize how important it is. But what about me as an individual? You know, I'm sitting on my cell phone. I do all my banking. I do everything. All my information is out there. How do I protect myself? You know, I'm just trusting that businesses are doing the right thing, but then my information gets, it sort of isn't protected. What can I do?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is just let's start thinking about it. You know, that's the most important thing. Whether you're a business or an individual, let's start thinking about this and thinking what we're doing. How many people do you know that still don't have PINs on their cell phones? You know, because it's an inconvenience, it's a perceived inconvenience. But the information that you have on your phone includes your banking statements. People can tell exactly how much you earn. They can see where your children go to school. You know, there's personally very important information in there. Never mind the details of customers and things like that. So first thing is you've got to be streetwise. We all pride ourselves. We're from Johannesburg. We're streetwise. You know, we pride ourselves in that. So let's be the same when we're online. Let's be cyber savvy. So before you click on the link, try and look at it. You know, try and see that the URL is actually a meaningful URL. Remember, it's a big telephone directory. When you click on a name, it fetches the telephone number of that internet server and you direct it to the site. Once you're at the site, one of the things that LAWtrust does is we put an SSL certificate on the site. Most of them in the country come through us. That means we've identity proofed that site. So you should see the yellow padlock or the whole green bar. You can click on it, you can see that the URL really belongs to the bank that you're going to. You've got to look at these things. You know, if the URL looks wrong, if it feels wrong, then it probably is.
Yeah, don't go further, because you're just going to be very compromised and be sorry for it.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thanks so much for talking to us here on this morning broadcast, which focusing in on cybersecurity. Maeson Maherry is the Chief Solutions Officer at LAWtrust. It's a company that specializes in digital security, and in focus was, of course, the City of Johannesburg's information system being hacked last Thursday. We need to contact them to find out if it's all systems go and if everything is back to normal. We'll update you on that as well. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Good to see you. Let's take a break. When we return, the red ants under the spotlight. Sakina will be talking about that. Stay tuned.